Jon Stewart, welcome back, mate. It has been a long time. The last time we spoke, I can't remember when it was. Was it? It's got to be over a year ago, right?
Over a year ago.
And that was about the alien interview that hit
Correct.
over 1 million views.
Yeah, it absolutely exploded. I'm so happy for you, your viewers, for the whole investigation. Yeah, so I'm just so happy to be back. You know, you and I connected through my daughter. I'm like, you got to get me on this guy's show. He's awesome. He's my personality, and
Yes,
so
mate.
I'm excited to be back. And I actually wore a collared shirt for you. So I mean, that's
bless.
something.
You didn't have to do that, mate. So look, I gotta say, because we have kept in contact throughout this entire time, right? But I think you've got some things you want to get off your chest, because you sent me an email about these things that you want to discuss. And I think it's like an itch you need to itch, I suppose. Yeah. So tell me about, first of all, what you've been up to a little bit, because I've seen you on Twitter, because you deleted Twitter for a while, didn't you? Then you went back over to X, and you've gained a lot of popularity on there. And I've noticed you're becoming a little bit like a little bit more vocal. I've noticed, right? Ruffling a few feathers. Not to say it's a bad thing, because again, like everybody, you either like somebody or you don't like somebody. But what's your train of thought at the moment? What's going on?
When you come forward to a community and you champion yourself as, I'm going to be different. I don't know if I'm going to be successful. This is with the alien interview, but I'm going to do things that bothered me about researchers and that I think the community, the UFO community, would appreciate. And I was wrong in every metric. And that's a sad statement. And again, I want to say something for all the keyboard warriors out there. And first of all, your viewers are awesome. And I'm not ham-handing them, but this episode, this is my opinions, folks. This is all it is. This is all I have for you are my opinions based on my investigation, my history, whatnot. So, my opinion was a lot of people did not appreciate the fact that I didn't gatekeep any of my information. When I would get an email from a source, a contact, I ran right to the internet to give it to people. And instead of be like, wow, this is, and telling people in interviews on other podcasts, this just happened to me. I'm just the messenger, the reporter. I'm not validating a 2027 alien invasion. I'm not saying the alien interview is real. I'm just telling you, I don't want to gatekeep anything. And that bothered people. I to this day, I mean, I had a therapist appoint, but I talked for a while on New Year's Eve 2 years ago. A shirt tail relative of mine is one of the top psychiatrists in the country. She sits on boards. I mean, she is and we had a very deep discussion at a wedding on New Year's Eve 2 years ago about what I experienced. And just very shortly, if I think this is interesting for you and some of your viewers, she's like, Jon, you are not coming to this community as a journalist with a newspaper empire behind you. You are not coming to this community as a author with a publishing empire behind you. You're coming to this community with some remarkable breakthroughs and men and women coming out of the woodwork from the intelligence community helping me. She's like, and people are saying, he's what? He's a former pro wrestler. He's a retired car dealer. And she said, quote, who in the F does this guy think he is to come to our sacred ground and come to the altar of ufology? And he's getting evidence, and he's getting more help than some of the people we have our sacred cows in ufology. Who does he think he is? And that a huge weight went off my chest. Like I stopped taking things personally to some degree and realized, okay, that's what, and I got a grating voice. I've got the pro wrestler voice. I understand that. I'm passionate. People take my passion for selling something. I'm not selling anything. I have said in every podcast, I don't know. I don't know the truth. I still don't know the truth, but I'm passionate. I'm excited that I got success in some of the, in the arenas that I've been in with ufology. And to get to your question is that I've given up. You know, the nice Jon Stewart that's giving information. Hey guys, welcome. Thank you for having me on your podcast. Here's what happened to me. Here's what was emailed to me, and it's put through the shredder, and Reddit gets onto it, and those animals try and destroy me. It's like, well, then I'm just gonna be I'm gonna let it loose. I decided 6-7 months ago that I'm just gonna go back on X. I'm gonna let it loose. I'm going to be a provocateur, agent provocateur, as far as just, I'm not going to edit anything. And I'm going to throw it back in your face. And I'm going to tell you how I feel, if you offended me, why it is. I'm going to jab people. But understand one thing, Ben, and I'll end here. Did I get you off the couch? Did I get you for the first time in a week to type something back? Did I get you thinking? Did you see a Jon Stewart post and go to ChatGPT and Google it? Did you call one of your buddies? Did you? If you did, then I did my job. I want to get people off the couch into the game, whether you're pissed off, whether I've engaged you to help me, or I've engaged you because I've upset you, because I've said something, or I've called you out. Did you engage? Did you engage in our community? Because this community of the UFO community will not move forward. It will not continue in the direction that we need to if everyone's sitting on the couch and letting 15 people lead the way. No, I want people to be engaged. So I'm taking off the gloves. I want to shake people. I want to poke people. I want them to start thinking and to do their own research and get in the game. And I think I've accomplished that.
Yeah, I think that that explanation is totally understandable. You know, you needed somebody to say, "Hey, look, I suppose." Stop putting yourself into this bubble of where it should be 100% fact, 100%, giving everything to everybody. You are, and I suppose also you've got entwined with this search for knowledge, but also with, you're an entertainer, right? And I've got to be honest with you, maybe this is why we connect so well, because I want to give people information about UFOs, aliens, all this sort of stuff, but I do want to try to push that element of entertainment, because it doesn't have to be all serious, all sort of like 100%. And I respect you for that. And you know what? I'm really happy as well, because I remember on the alien interview podcast that we did, at the very end, I asked you a question and you teared up, didn't you? I said, "Yes. And how are you?" Because you were like,
nobody's ever asked me
nobody's
that.
asked me that. And, I could tell it was taking a toll on you, but you're obviously a strong individual, So, like, fair shout to you, mate. And, I suppose you're in a difficult time, because how much you got to probably try to rein it in a little bit, right? Because you still want to try to, be on the UFO community side and try to give them the best information you can. And also, I think that, sorry if I'm going on, but
no,
it's you want to. There's almost that element of job where responsibility, where if you get information, you need to give it to somebody ASAP, right?
I have to.
And you know what?
I have to.
I've been a sucker for that before, where I have an email, I'm like, holy shit, like, I'm going to get this out. Right. And then the next day it's like, oh, Ben, this is CGI or fake. I'm like, oh, shit.
Right.
Yeah.
Which is why, like people have said, and again, I take a lot of followers' comments or suggestions. They're like, you should just always tell people, you be the judge. Hey, that's a great thing. Or, hey, this is what was sent to me. And yeah, I mean, not getting into a long diatribe, but I did a Area 52 with Chris Ramsey, who he's like you, just a wonderful person. But there were the rhetoric and hate of this guy's bullshit. What did I say? I just told you my story. Would you call Leslie Keane bullshit? Well, no, she's a journalist. So am I.
Yeah.
I'm just telling you what happened to me. I'm making up stories of flying to New York and meeting with the New York Times. I mean, it's crazy. In one comment, which goes right to what you said 2 minutes ago, somebody wrote, all this guy did was talk for 3 hours. I'm on a podcast. I'm on a podcast telling you a 7-year, $35,000 journey that I'm trying to encapsulate and regurgitate to you in an hour and a half. What do you want me to do? Stare at the podcast host? I mean, and again, I will end here on this subject matter. Or my comment is that there is a lot of narcissism. I'm sorry, I'm going to be a provocateur again, but there's a lot of like wounded children, childhoods coming back, narcissism, where no matter what I said, what I do, what I show, what I tell people, do your own homework. It's still, I've got this, Chris Ramsey told me this, you've got this aggro personality. You're this big wrestler, bald Italian guy, and you're screaming and your hands are going everywhere. You got an aggro personality, and it's just not going to matter. No matter what you said, what you say, I could say like, puppies are wonderful. Somebody's going to chime in, but that was the troll comment of my life. This guy comes on, all he does is talk for 3 hours. And I wrote back, I'm like, what did you want me to do? Stare at Chris Ramsey? I mean, and that also makes you think there's nothing I can do that's going to please everyone. And we're dealing with anonymous people. This is the psychiatrist, my relative psychiatrist. You're dealing with anonymous people who want to be heard. They're dealing with issues themselves, and that's the effect of it. And so I just gave up trying to please everyone and make everyone happy and do the right thing. I know I'm doing the right thing. I'm telling you the truth about my journey. I'm not telling you every email is legit. Every source I have is I checked 1,000%. Every concept that someone writes me is going to bear out. But I do have one thing, and Sean Hazlitt from Through a Glass Darkly, and I'm not plugging other podcasts. I'm just giving you, I'm giving references. Who was in the military? He said, "Well, you do know what's happening to you. I come out with the alien interview." And go to Congress, hand out my packet to Congress. I went to congressional offices in D.C. to hand my crazy hyperbolic packet to Congress people. 4 months later, David Grush comes forward, not with the alien interview, but we have Kraft and Biologics. That's number one. I bring forward the Lockheed firefight, where an aerospace company recovered their alien reproduction vehicle. JSOC Special Forces converged on the same alien reproduction vehicle. A firefight. People were killed. They were eviscerating me on Reddit. What comes out 8 months later? Jake Barber, but it's called a limited hangout. It's not replica UFO. It is laptops deep in a lake, but the same story. Private aerospace company, they duped us. Special forces showed up, a firefight, people were murdered. And lastly, 2027. I was the one that came out with the story. 2027, I believe, before Chris Bledsoe. And I'm not, if he did, God bless him. But really, I was one of the first to come out with 2027 because it was emailed me by a DARPA-related scientist. Again, people just, who does he think he is? And 3 months later, Avi Loeb and this one and that one. I mean, it's everybody in their sister, including Eric Davis, that are coming out saying and something's, even Lou Elizondo, something's coming in 2027. So something is going on, and I'll end here. Something is going on with the people that are helping me. You want to call them my handlers? I don't care what you call them. They're my advisors, whatever. Something is going on where they are telling me some sort of the truth. Another group is saying, holy shit, let's water this down, send this guy out, send this person out. So what I am putting out to some degree has verification, because some group is trying to water all of my stories down that I come on the internet with. So do with that as you will.
Okay. Well, look, you touched on a few things there, which is obviously the covering email that you sent me.
Yeah.
So we'll get into that. But first of all, I want to,
no problem.
I suppose we're going down the list here. You wanted to talk about the disappearance of the Major General McCaslin.
God.
What's your thoughts? Because obviously, from what I've gathered now, a lady, Monica Reza, also 8 months prior to this went missing. So tell me your thoughts. What's on your mind?
Look, my grandfather was chief of police of a police department. The first person I ever even spoke about that I'm going to start investigating this crazy alien film was, look him up, Sergeant William Giaconetti in Chicago, famous Chicago police sergeant. He was interviewed on CBS Sunday Morning. Famous cold case guy. He sat down. Two things he said: you're never going to solve this sitting in front of your computer. You're going to have to knock on doors and hunt people down. And I was credited by the New York Times, where Ralph and Leslie went, "You got out of your car and knocked on his door?" Like, yeah. And I'm not patting myself on the back. I'm an old school investigator. The second thing he said is, forget all the noise. What are the basics? Stick to the basics. You're going to get your answer. What are the basics? Forget what this guy did. He left his house. He left his phone, his eyeglasses, his wearables, like an iWatch or iPods. But he took a .38 revolver and he went hiking. And his wife is not that upset and hysterical on TV. That's it. You can. Oh, but Jon, Mr. Stewart, that's all it is.
That's true, because I actually covered I did a video about that, and I read out her tweet that she put out, and and almost there was a joking. There was a little joke at the end about him being beamed up by aliens.
Are you listening to this guy, folks? Thank you. I mean, Ben, if you just had your wedding anniversary, I've been married for 26 years. First of all, congratulations.
Oh, and
you. If my or your wife said that, if you and I disappeared, do you think my friends and family would be like, why aren't you more upset? Right. and so again, I'll get to my hypothesis, but that's all we have. A retired military man went into the desert with a .38, did not want to be tracked because he left his phone and wearables at home. The wife is not that upset. There are only two things with that situation. He wanted to kill himself, and I'm saying you'll cut that out. He wanted to de-alive himself so we don't get deplatformed. For whatever reason, why does a middle-aged man retired want to de-alive himself? A medical diagnosis. He's afraid of something else happening to him, and finds out his spouse is having an affair. I'm not leading anyone, but I mean, those are really or clinical depression. And it didn't sound like he was clinically depressed. I have a degree in counseling psychology. I have not diagnosed him. I have not, but from what I'm reading and the things that I'm hearing from his wife and from friends, an outdoorsman, he bike rode like 60 miles, like 4 or 5 days before this event happened. This is not a guy that is described as locked in himself in his office for years on his computer. This is a vibrant lifestyle that isn't really an indication of somebody that was clinically depressed. And the wife not being hysterical is, to me, she knows something more then is leading on, or she doesn't want the truth to come out. That's it, folks. And why would your wife not be hysterical if you disappeared? One, she knew the mob or the government or someone took you and it was prearranged. And number two, that your disappearance, your unaliving yourself was caused by her. I'm sorry. And I don't want anyone to draw any conclusions. I'm just speaking to you in the mind of a Chicago, salt and pepper hair, 60-year-old police officer with the beer belly. And, that's it. That's it. Your wife is not hysterical because she wanted you unalive or she knew you were going to disappear. Something is afloat that will also implicate her to some degree. That is my opinion. So I will get to my hypothesis. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
What I would say, though, in her defense, because I have to play this card as well.
Of course.
Now,
Please do.
A tweet is premeditated, right? Surely, writing something out like that, you're going to have to think to yourself, what are people going to think? What are people going to say? How should I write? How should I come across? If surely she could have just said in her tweet, how upset I am, how this I am, how that. Like, really? Why would you naturally want to raise alarm bells like that by putting a joke at the end and not come across?
Be flippant. Yeah.
Yeah, it's odd because that almost, if you're trying to cover something or she's done something wrong or she knows what's going on and wants to hide it, I would be typing, oh, please, I'm so worried. The whole family are worried. If you've got any information, blah, 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 blah. But it's not. So it's a bit of it's a weird, it really is a weird one, I have to admit.
Yeah, and we all grieve differently. I get that.
Yeah.
Believe me, I'm the guy that I actually made a post 2 weeks ago. Watch people at weddings and funerals. You'll get all the information you need to know about people. And that's good and bad. So I wrote that 2 weeks ago. Yeah, you would think she would come out with this is what struck me. She didn't say anything kind about him, endearing. Like my wife would say, Jon Stewart loved life and he was the funniest guy in the world. And, he was the light of our family and I love him dearly. And I am crestfallen and heartbroken and I want the community to help me. No, you make a flippant joke about an already cynical topic, the UFOs and aliens, which is the regular people look at it like still little green men. It doesn't make sense. So I do want to go here because I promised you some bombshells. So, okay. I emailed one journalist. I won't even say his name. And this is what I was emailed. I cannot verify this. I'm just telling you what I was emailed, that there was a prearranged meeting in the desert, which is scary enough. I don't care if you're meeting, if you're meeting Prince Charles. I mean, the meeting in the desert is scary to somebody. That there was a prearranged meeting in the desert and that, that he is under protection of a elite security group tied with the government. I think that's not implicating me at all. That was what I was emailed. Now, I was emailed 2027, the alien interview, the Lockheed firefight story. This was not one of my regular leakers and whistleblowers. Is that true? That would explain his wife to me not being hysterical. Honey, I'm going to meet Ben in the desert. He said he's bringing 2 people. I'm bringing like if the mob called you to meet him in the desert, you're taking a weapon just in case.
Yeah.
I'm going to take my gun. I don't want anyone to know where I am. That's part of the deal. I'm going to be all right. Let me work through this. I think what I was emailed is at least has legs enough to make sense of everything, right? I mean, other than unaliving himself, which is he did it. He unalived himself, and it's wrong to make speculation conclusively why he did that. I was told that he is Oh boy, I can use the word from the Alien interview. He has been retained by a group, and he's not harmed. And that's the email.
Okay, so this person has emailed you.
Yes.
Is this the first time you've heard from this person? Is it like
Second time?
Second time. What was the first email?
God, that's a good question. You know, I have 12 now whistleblowers and advisors. I don't remember what his first email was. I'd have to go back and check. I believe it was something to do with my phone.
Okay.
So because I had my email stolen 3 times, I think. But I can definitely get that information. Not that would be germane to what we're talking about. But
So
again, I didn't even go to the internet world with this information. I went to one journalist and said, "Here's what I just got emailed. Do with it as you will." To me, it ties up all the loose ends. It makes sense to me why the wife isn't hysterical, and that he didn't want to be tracked. That's to me. Now, can I just say one last thing?
Course,
somebody had a great comment on the internet, and I'm going to credit this person because I didn't come up with this. And they're like, and did we check out the handyman that was there? Because here's the story, folks. The wife went to a doctor's appointment. A handyman comes over to fix whatever. Major General McCaslin leaves, and that's it. And people are like, that's kind of a movie script. The CIA sends in the florist or the plumber or the electrician or and that starts the chain of events. I just think that's an interesting comment, an interesting perception by somebody that I didn't come up with that theory. But yeah, I mean, I would like to know who was the handyman. Is he Mr. So-and-so that's been in the Albuquerque area for 50 years and his shop's been there for 50 years? Cool. If it was some new LLC that was started a year ago and I fault the police too for kind of not giving the full information on the handyman.
So what? Just I was going to ask a question. When you saw this email, what makes you think? I mean, because this could be just anybody emailing you.
I agree.
What makes you?
Well, he did email me once before.
Okay, but
so I recognize the email signature, the email before.
So the first email then that said something about your phone. Did that help?
I believe that's what our email was. I was not prepared. Okay. I believe it was about my email.
So there must be something in that first email that made you feel this guy's legit or knows stuff, right? Because otherwise, this could be just any if
you get them all the time, I get them all the time. I know exactly
their theories,
exactly.
And
when it was succinct, and that's what scares me, but that's what it was. He's like, just between us, boom, 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 boom. And I'm like, this, this makes all of the little dots connect. Because the wife not being hysterical, I'm sorry, to me, that's a red flag. I can't wrap my head around that.
So do you think there's any connection between him and Monica Reza?
I absolutely believe so. Now, she disappeared in the Angeles Mountains, which is outside of Los Angeles, 6 or 8 months ago.
8 months ago, yeah.
And her companion said she just vanished like, dust in the wind, 50 feet in front of him. She waved to him, turned around, and she was gone. You have all of these weird unalivings and murders from people that are in the astrophysics, propulsion, metallurgy fields, astroscience field. McCaslin's, a company that he was a consulting for, was funding her project. I believe that she was working on a new type of alloy, so we would not have to buy Russian rockets.
That's right, yeah. It's a thing called monoloy.
Monoloy. And look, how big is the astrophysics, astrosciences, propulsion, rocket science? How big is that community? 5,000 people, 10,000? If 10 people go missing and or are murdered in a course of a year, if that happened in Major League Baseball, I mean, how many baseball players are there in the world from, AAA, AA, Venezuela, 10,000? If 9 baseball players around the world in a year were unalived and murdered and disappeared in the course of a year, ESPN would be running the story every day. So that it just, again, I'm a product of police officers. Most of my friends are former police officers. I told you the lineage. There are no coincidences in life, and that my thought has bode me well in investigating things. I just don't think this is all a coincidence.
Okay. What do you think then? Just finishing off on that, because unfortunately, I think we've spoken about all the information there is, right?
Correct. Yeah.
The only other detail was there was a shirt of McCaslin's which was found, could be his, might not be his.
Right. So to me, that's right now. I can't. As an investigator, I can't think about that. I have to just.
But what I was going to say is,
oh my God! I see. This is. Oh my God. I have COVID brain, Havana syndrome.
Well, it is also 6 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah, whatever's wrong with my brain, I got it. Okay, I know exactly what the email was. This guy, told me about this agent from Right-Pat, and that's why he called me about or emailed me. I'm thinking because McCaslin had ties to that. In my investigation, a man by the name of Scott Walter hooked me up with a special agent from the National Air and Space Intelligence Center. I've told this story. Here's another thing. People, Jon Stewart, he's got phantom agents now. And the guy ghosted me. I demanded an answer. He wrote me back with, you are to delete all of your information, all of our transcripts, all of our text messages. You are on a DOD watch list. My commanding officer has told me never to contact you again. Do not contact me. I was like, oh my, and he was like a David Grush, just the nicest guy in the world, because I faxed, and I put this on X, I faxed his commanding officer at Right-Pat the questions we were going to ask in the documentary. And that is when this person first appeared. And does he have a connection with Right-Pat? I have no idea, but thank you for jogging my memory. So that's when the McCaslin Right-Pat thing came on. And he also said one other thing. He said, it didn't go well for you the first time at Right-Pat. Maybe you should stop investigating this one. And I wrote it on the internet. I'm like, I'm done. Just want to let everybody know, stop DMing me. I am done investigating. I'll report on it, from other news sources. And Red Panda Koala's done a great job on this, and we share information and through over X and stuff. But me making phone calls and being the gumshoe detective, that warning to me was good enough. So,
right.
But anyways, can I just finish the secret the special agent Scott Walter goes on the Y-Files, and he tells the story that he got started to make communication. The guy came to his house 3 times. It ended bad at his house. Like Scott Walter and this agent, who nicknamed himself Holden from Catcher in the Rye, they got into a argument at Scott Walter's house. It almost came to blows, and Scott and him disparted with each other. The same thing that happened to me. So again, the 4th time, here's somebody else repeating a story that I told that people eviscerated me about, that I was lying.
Wow.
But yeah, so that's Right-Pat is, I don't want to, you don't want to go to Right-Pat. I mean, go there like investigating, and it's, I got the message is all I'm saying.
Okay. Is there anything else you want to talk about that? I mean, in conclusion of McCaslin.
I hope he's alive.
Yeah.
And I don't know how you walk this back. How do you suddenly cart this guy out and say, well, I was being held by an aerospace company, or I was in a deep underground military facility held by the government? I guess I guess that wouldn't cause too many waves if somebody, if somebody from the DOD said, look, we had to take Major General McCaslin into custody because he was, leaking information on a ghost account on X, and that, we could not have that happen. I think people would understand that. I hope he's alive. I certainly don't want to find out that that he de-alived himself, because people that have spoke about him say just what a really nice guy he is, and a smart man and a dedicated, service person. And I think that's the biggest thing that we should remember, is this guy was a career, Air Force officer and dedicated his life to helping us and our country and whatnot. And I think that's the thing we have to remember first and foremost.
Yeah, and just another detail, his wife said on the tweet as well that he hasn't got dementia.
Right. That the silver hair alert was probably misrepresented. And that was another thing. Somebody told me, well, John, she was a candidate to be an astronaut. You don't choose astronauts that are, oh my God, my husband's disappeared. You choose people that are cool as a cucumber and ice water in their veins. And then I went, that is true. But emotions are emotions, but that is true. This woman was specifically chosen, or allowed to go through the candidate school of being an astronaut, probably because she was very comported and not hyperbolic and prone to excitable personality traits.
Yeah,
so it's a crazy story.
I'm sure in the comments there's going to be lots of theories, but you also wanted to talk about Chris Bledsoe, right? Predictions and past issues.
Yeah, I just
first of all, can you just overview? I mean, because I don't really know much about this person. Can you just explain to our viewers who this person is? And then
yes, Chris Bledsoe was a real estate developer who got into a little jam. You're building, in retrospect, you're building 90 houses at one time. Are there going to be a couple of houses that, the window doesn't shut, or the concrete's not laid right? 90 houses. I mean, but he wasn't very timely about repairing that, where people had to take him to civil court.
Right.
So that means you're really blowing off these people. It's not like they're calling and 2 weeks later, Jon Stewart and his crew shows up to fix the window. So that bothered me a little bit. But he was in some very financial trouble and some other issues with his family. He was praying one night, and he was visited by this female entity that told him, April of 2026, it was going to all come, the return of Christ, or the end of the world, or the revelation would come to fruition, and we would, this big worldwide revealing. Remember, folks, God, if you take anything from this interview, Armageddon does not mean, or the apocalypse does not mean, the end all be all war of the wars. The apocalypse means to reveal the truth.
Right.
I think that's important. And Chris said also that not only was he visited by this female entity, that he was really one of the first people to talk about these orbs in modern times, that were visiting him. He could summon them. There are a couple of people that validate that claim. So that was pretty interesting. And, his son came out and said, and I get this. I actually get this. His son came out and he was blasted. He's like, look, when you're talking about orbs and you're not mentioning my father, the originator of the orb story, in modern times, that's an insult. And I get that. That's like, and there were people that talked about the 2027. I was on their podcast and they never said, hey, remember this, folks, we broke the story with Jon Stewart. He can't, so that is an insult when you're not the originator, when you're not crediting the originator. I get that, because I have felt that, it is a little jab. It is a little punch in the nose. Like, it is a little dismissive. And we're all going to see in 2 to 4 weeks if Chris's experience, I would call it, with this female entity is going to bear out, because he was kind of walking back the date, but he said April of 2026, and it would start with a war with Iran and Israel. He was shown exchange of missiles, and that happened in.
Oh yes, that's so.
I mean, it's I'm just saying, like, I don't know what the truth is. All I know is within 2 to 4 weeks, we're all going to know whether this entity was predicting the future with Chris correctly.
Because he's come out with other predictions, hasn't he? But apparently, like the dates don't. I think they keep some.
He changed the date once, I believe.
The date, and also, I suppose these predictions. A lot of people have said so many things in the past about future predictions. The end of the world. Oh, it's going to be in the year 2000. Then it didn't. It was, actually, no, it's the year 2010, and then it didn't. And then so like. At some point, when you're throwing darts, something's going to come true, right? Maybe
a broken clock is right twice a day.
Yeah. Was there any particular detail of what he said?
I think the fact that he said April of 26, and right before that, there'd be a war between Iran and Israel.
But when did he say this?
Years ago, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah, years ago, I believe. And when I remember first hearing and I'm like, there is no way Iran is ever firing a missile at Israel because of the massive retaliation. But it happened. So again, we can just leave it there and say within 2 weeks, April 1st to April 30th, we're going to find out very quickly if Chris's experience was
legit, yeah.
Prophecy, was prediction turned into prophecy.
Yeah.
And we're going to find out very soon.
What do you think?
I think I don't think it's suspect when I rolled my eyes at an Israeli-Iran war just because of the fear of retaliation from Israel and America and Britain, and the fact that it happened. And we're seeing exchange of missiles, my eyebrow is raised. And I have a different perspective on Chris now.
Right.
And I think we should all hold judgment and just wait 2 to 4 weeks, and we're going to find out real soon.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's scary, huh?
Scary.
The thing that you wanted to talk about also, which you mentioned
Can I say
earlier,
one thing on that?
Yeah, of course you can.
Can I say one more thing on that? Folks, the elite are not making spaceships to get off the planet to go to Mars. They're making deep underground bunkers.
Right, yeah.
Just remember that.
Yeah, was it
and global
the Facebook
warming,
guy?
the sea's rising. Obama, the sea is rising. He buys an $8 million mansion on an island in the Atlantic Ocean. So, Uncle John here, dispense bullshit from bullshit. So, do the elites probably know something really bad might happen globally? Are they making contingency plans? Yeah, but they're also buying $40 million mansions in Miami. So, don't be too alarmed. The money people will always continue to make money. The world will always be here. I don't want to be the alarmist as I sometimes come off to be, but please, for God's sakes, keep your eyes open and just be prepared. That's all.
Yeah, because I actually saw the prints or the plans for Zuckerberg's underground bunker. Do you see that thing? It's like a city.
Unbelievable. It's like a second Pentagon. I mean, underground. It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable. Yeah.
I mean, because they do say, don't they? They do say that these ultra billionaires, millionaires, they know things that a lot of people don't, which makes you think like, okay, so if they know something that most of the general public don't, and they're building an underground, that just does raise eyebrows. Because I mean, unless it's like a childhood dream to always have an underground bunker,
possibly. I mean, if you had billions of dollars, I mean, you'd have I think it's prudent. had $200 million, Jesus, if I had $10 million, I think I have hunting property in the UP of Michigan, which is right over the northern Wisconsin border. I would probably build some sort of, or have someone build some sort of an underground structure just in case.
I think most
I got all the money
will.
in the world. I just think that's prudent. I don't think that's an indication of course, it is weird that a lot of the billionaires do go to New Zealand a lot, but that's whatever. But the sea's rising. Stop, okay, folks, stop. Sea's rising. All I know is this: there's a trillion mass of nuclear fusion taking place called our sun. And if you looked at the weather for 450 million years, I remember this from seventh grade. I'm not going to say anything controversial. I remember seventh grade geology class, and my teacher said, "This is called the alligator teeth." And we were like, "What?" And for 450 million years, they studied the climate with trees and rocks, and it goes up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, so perfectly it looks like the teeth of an alligator. So, folks, they say climate change has happened all the time. It's going to continue to happen. Do we want the planet as clean and pollution free as possible? Absolutely. That's in our human DNA to make our space, vibrant and clean and usable. And I'm a historian. The United States of America, especially on the East Coast in the 18 and early 1900s, was disgusting. It was coal smoke and diesel and industry and no trees. And we have more trees in America than we had in the colonial period. Oh, that's a fact. Shh, John, fact. People are cleaning the oceans. We other than like India, Pakistan, Bangladesh, but you even see videos of people starting to clean those rivers. So, I think we're pretty decent stewards of this planet. Yeah, that's my opinion.
So you touched on 2027, right? The disclosure theory earlier.
Yes.
Talk to me about that. Why this is big buzzword, isn't it? 2027. It's huge, right?
Yeah. So about a year and a half ago, maybe even 2 years ago, I get an email. Again, one I didn't talk about. Sent it to my journalist friend. Sent it to one of my other intel people who's more science orientated. And it just said I was a scientist, electrical engineering master's degree. I have a electronic system on one of the space shuttles in the past. I mean, that was a pretty unique little factoid to put in that email. And he said, I worked along with DARPA scientists for years with my company. So my scientific company was jobbed out to DARPA. And hey, my lights went off.
So they're listening. They're listening in.
Boy, here we go. So I'm not going to fix it. So, and he said that what I saw on the drawing board, what I saw in emails, memos, what I heard talked about amongst DARPA scientists was alarming. And here is what I believe is going to happen. And I caught you on a podcast. So all the people really get a hold of me with crazy emails. And he said, when I was working with DARPA, I saw weaponry made for an offensive and defensive protection of our planet. That it was an offensive weaponry to repel. That was the word, to repel an invasion. Wow. And I wrote back, and I went, you can't possibly think that you want me to go on the internet with DARPA scientists just told me about an alien invasion. And I said, we got to walk this back. This is too. He's like, I'm not going to walk it back. I'm not going to pull back my verbiage. I saw weaponry being developed and implemented to repel an alien invasion. And then he proceeded to tell me about in loose terms, the species that possibly would be coming. And he said, hive mind could care less about humans on our planet. And he said the scariest thing. He said they're coming back, from what I read, what I heard, that they're coming back for their equipment, for their bodies, and for resources on our planet. And they really don't care how we react to that, and how it affects us. And we went back and forth. I'm like, do you really? I'm like, I took it on the chin with this Lockheed story. You want me to go forward with this? And he's like, print it. So I put it out on the internet, the same Jon Stewart, caveat. Hey, this is what was emailed to me. I've had weeks of email. I sent this to another journalist who looked at it and went, whoa. But how do you deny somebody that rubs shoulders with DARPA, and he wants to get this? It's like all of these people that have helped me. They got this on their chest, and they want to, it's like a cathartic moment. That is my opinion. Being emotionally intelligent and a guy that I have a degree in counseling and psychology. I know I said that before, but I chose psychology as my core studies because I am empathetic and I am emotionally intelligent. And I can tell when somebody's trying to, alleviate their burdens, so to speak. And I am an easy person to communicate with. And that psychiatrist, shirt tail relative, said another thing to me. She goes, I think people contact you because you give out your personal email. They don't have to go through a switchboard, the Pentagon, to find this podcast guest. You're giving out your private email. That is very personal. And I think that opens the door to these people to say, hey, I'm gonna email this guy, and you're a little bit crazy.
Well,
so that if they do get in trouble, they can say, this guy's crazy. I never said that, or I never emailed that. So,
well, I think that me personally, I think it has an element of truth there about your personal email, but I think
yes,
it's more about how you come across like somebody that doesn't judge.
I don't.
I
Boy,
think
that's a good point.
And I think that's when people hear about you, see you on these podcasts, maybe they can relate, or they feel safe, coming to you with information. Now, unfortunately, with that, the floodgates are wide open, because anyone then feels like they can, I'm just going to send him this and he'll say it, whether it's real or not.
True.
Yes. Unfortunately, that's the caveat, right? Now, just going back to this 2027, this alien invasion, because Jeremy Corbell, he had this viral video, didn't he, where he sat down in the middle of this room and he's saying, do you really want me to tell you? I'm going to tell you now. And he brings out this phone and he says about this, a huge, the lie is going to be this mothership is coming to Earth.
The opposite of my story.
Yep. Yeah. So, is this just part and parcel of the whole, story here? Just confuse everybody with positive and negative, real and false. How can we believe anything anymore? Right?
You can't. And you have me on your show to be honest. If somebody's orchestrating this, they've turned it into WWE. Yeah. It's good guy, bad guy, pyrotechnics.
Yeah.
Roll out Jon Stewart. Okay, what did he say? He said 2027 aliens are coming. Let's send Jeremy Corbell a text and tell him it's a fake alien invasion. Now let's get this guy. Let's get Avi Loeb. Absolutely. That it can, when you have competing theories, competing stories. I have no doubt Jeremy Corbell did not lie about that being texted to him, just as much as I would want people to say. I have no doubt Jon Stewart didn't lie about, what was emailed to him. And I always say that I sent it to this journalist or someone else, because that to me is not gatekeeping, and I'm showing them, what do you think? And, like the scientist, he sent me the biopic that was on the wall of his scientific research laboratory, and he sent me his whole collegiate and educational and work background. And so, yeah, yes, it becomes nothing but a clanging cymbal, of noise, a cacophony of who's right, who's wrong. And all I can say is that I came out first with this 2027, or damn near first, right, with Chris Bledsoe, and Avi Loeb comes out, and other people are coming out about an imminent invasion. Lou Elizondo, some reporters are came out with saying, we are being told, prepare. And so, is Jon Stewart's, whistleblower is am I rising, or is not me? I'm sorry, that's ego. That's an ego statement. Is the story of 2027 an alien invasion? Is that rising in validity? All I can say is that more people are coming out with, be prepared, prepare, whatnot. Then it's gonna be a lie, because everyone is ready for the Project Blue Beam fake alien invasion. I don't think the government could pull that off. That's my opinion. That's my opinion.
Was there any detail regarding what type of weapons these things were? Like, what were they using? What type of technology were they using?
Great question. And that's what struck me about the email, that he did not go into specific detail, because then he's violating, I'm assuming he has a lifelong or damn near lifelong NDA. If he would have went into detail, we've got this laser or photon beam that's he didn't. He didn't go into any detail, which is, to me, emblematic of a true, authentic whistleblower. Just like my Lockheed firefight story, the young man from Bechtel in Seattle didn't go into specific detail, like telling them names of the men that were murdered and the specific aerospace, the specific people from the aerospace company, and then told me at the end, this is what I heard. This is water cooler talk, which I know, as for a whistleblower, it's called the the red herring, that, well, this all could be bullshit, and that is a very emblematic. There's stages of a whistleblower. So no, he did not get any specifics about what kind of weaponry, and that to me validated his email more. Now, I have actually spoken with this person on the phone. He's retired, lives in the desert foothills of Arizona. He's just a nice person. I ever felt deception with him. He was always open with me, always willing to answer any question, constantly sends me updated essays, he calls them, about his experience, or with DARPA, and about what is on the way. And I think the description of the species was not hyperbolic. They're coming to eat us, or he didn't say that. He just said, look, they're like invaders. They're coming for their equipment. And I've heard other people say this. They want their bodies back. They want their equipment back. And this is
I did hear,
not just a single claim. And then when other people came forward with 2027, I'm like, oh my God, it's happening again. The limited hangout, David Grush, Jake Barber, now Avi Loeb, Lou Elizondo. Why is everyone watering down my stories? Can all of my stories be bullshit? I don't think so. I don't think so.
There was something you said about there which sort of raised my eyebrow. Is like where you said, we want our technology back, because there is
he said equipment.
Right, okay, equipment. Only reason being is because, like, there is a theory out there that I think when there was an agreement, right, with ET and humans saying, okay, you give us technology, we'll give you bodies.
Right.
That was that was apparently an agreement years and years ago.
With one set of species.
Right.
If there's, I would have to conclude as a historian, or as an amateur historian, that, like, I always put the Earth as, we're a tribe in the Amazon in 1805. People are going to come from Britain. They're going to come from the Netherlands, explorers. They're going to come from Spain, France, China. and go to the Amazon and explore. So I'm concluding in my own my own uh, uh, my own theory is that multiple species are have visited and have interacted with this planet. So one species maybe made that agreement, and one species quite possibly wants whatever craft was left here and crashed here, and they want the pilots and occupants of those craft. I don't think that's a crazy notion. And when they're here, they're going to take some resources. That was weird for him to put that in there. That felt real to me. That felt real to me.
It sounds so way out there, right? It does. But, I remember a while ago, I did mention regarding, like, some people think that ET aliens are good. Some people think they're evil. Some people think they're demons, right?
Right.
And I think that you're going to have some sort of array. It's like humans, right? Some people are good. Some people are bad. I think you can have... even if you're just talking about one species, now maybe they're more intellectual, like superior than us, but you still may get good ones and bad ones within that bubble of that kind. But then from a different galaxy or a different place, you might get complete sort of like the Predator, where all they want to do is search for the
listen to this guy, right?
But
Ben, who came to the Amazon in the 1800s? People for exploration, scientific reasons, pure adrenaline, the thrill seekers.
Yeah.
People that came to take its resources. If we're part of the cosmos and we're part of the chemical and biological makeup of the universe, isn't it safe to conclude that other species in the universe make up the same type of reasons for going to different places and different planets, like we did when we went to the Amazon? I don't know. I don't think that's crazy.
But then going back, digressing slightly, I think that, how do we know this, right? If the only way us humans, us mere mortals, will know is if we see them or a signal of some sort. And if they are that advanced and they can travel through outer space,
right,
by the time we've seen them or heard them, they should be here already, taking what they want and off, as well as then you think to yourself, well, look about all these sightings that we've already had so far. Why has there not been any type of threat yet? Or maybe it's because we don't know it. But I just feel like if they're so far advanced and they have an agenda, they wouldn't let us know. They'd be like, zip, here, take, boom, gone. So
that's a great point.
Yeah.
That is a great point. Right. You don't if you're coming for your own selfish reasons, you're not going to alert the people that are where you're going to, that you're going to arrive, and this is the date you're going to arrive.
Yeah.
If I'm going to invade, I'm going to do it at 3. Let's look at history on Earth. You're going to do it at 3:00 in the morning when on a holiday. So yeah, I first of all, I think the open disclosure, the open communication. I do believe what experiencers and military people and telepaths have all said and communicated publicly to me at times, which is there is a rule where you cannot interfere too much with a planet that you are traversing to or you're going to, and that does seem to be, you could, maybe do a little jump starting, a little tinkering, which I think they did with our DNA, which I think they did with the Sumerians. All of a sudden we have language, roads, governments, education, tools of war. But altering the destiny of the planet, I don't think that an alien species is allowed to do that. I do believe that they also are allowed to not let us blow each other up. That is my belief.
Right. Okay. Right. We're going to go back into that a little bit, but I'm trying to go through this list here.
Sure.
Because we're going to touch on that, about Trump and stuff. But you wanted to talk about the Travis Walton confessional hoax claim.
Yeah, and this is not, and again, I wrote on X, this doesn't make me happy. This makes me sad. That somebody duped an entire group of the world for 50 years. And about 4 months ago, a person came forward, and one of the men in the truck, and said this was a hoax. And last week, a man came forward, and his statement was put forward. I believe is I was going to write it down, but we
Sorry, John. Can I
clicked on.
just stop you
Yes.
there, because I want people to understand who Travis Walton is. He's
Oh my God, I'm sorry. Okay.
No, it's fine. So he's one of the OGs that claimed that he was abducted by aliens, right? And throughout all his story, it's never changed. He's always said. He's even
Right.
gone on. I even saw him on take a lie detector through multiple questions, and they all
Right.
said that he wasn't lying, right?
Right. Yeah, he said that he was coming back from a day of logging in California. They saw a light above the treetops. He got out of his truck. He was hit by this light, picked up and thrown back down on the air. The men in the truck drove away, and 7 days later, naked, he's at a payphone in the small California, logging town. And the police get involved. One of the interesting things, that when the men in the truck were in the interrogation rooms in the sheriff's department, a couple of them were praying to God. Now, I don't know if that was because they were scared or they didn't want to get caught, but his story never changed. He did pass a lie detector test years and years ago. But now, 4 months ago, one of the men came forward saying that, he didn't say that Travis in the experience was a hoax, that I've hoaxed many things in life. And then literally last week, one of the men literally came forward, deathbed confession. It was all a hoax, and Travis is going to have to answer for this before he dies. And he mentioned another person involved in the hoax with that group. I believe a Michael Pierce, but I was gonna write it down, so forgive me for hatching that.
No, it's fine.
But he mentioned another person that was in cahoots with Travis, and then Travis. And I believe this better than the other. Travis was put on a lie detector on an actual a show, a TV show, and they told him, not a little bit, conclusively, you are lying. You are lying about this. So who are we to believe? This high-tech 21st century lie detector says conclusively you are lying. Two of the men in his crew say that it was a hoax, that he was lying and did it for money. That the other man that he was in cahoots with was known to pull other hoaxes like this, and that the alien light was a forestry tower spotlight, that this was all planned for them to stop, that the light was turned on, and that was the alien ship that was that allegedly took
And
took Travis.
Travis knew about this all along, right? He was in on the
all,
hoax.
all along. He was totally in on the hoax. And this 21st century lie detector didn't say possibly. They specifically said the word conclusively. You are absolutely lying.
Because
And his reaction was like, well, oh, come on, it just.
Well, I saw that game show that you're talking about, and there was I saw, and now this was like clipped on TikTok,
Yes.
But
yes.
it was 5 questions. It was around about there, right? 5 or 6,
Right.
whatever, like maybe 10. I'm not too sure, but a very, very, a little amount of questions, but enough. But each one, they were like, he's telling the truth, until the very last one. The very last question, they said, were you abducted by aliens, or, whatever. Basically, the grand finale question. That's
Sure.
the one that he failed
And he
on,
failed.
right?
Because if
But then
somebody's
why-
asking,
but-
were you in the woods? Did you see a light? Or I'm not saying these were the questions. I'm just saying, look,
okay.
you can pass a lie detector. If I say I beat The Rock in WrestleMania 25, I was a pro. If they're asking me, are you a pro wrestler? Yes. Well, I passed that. Have you ever met The Rock? Yes. did you ever work for the WWE? Yes. I'm going to be truthful until the Mac Daddy question comes. Did you wrestle The Rock in WrestleMania 25?
It doesn't matter if you wrestled The Rock.
Right. It doesn't matter. So, and then when two people come forward from his own crew, and it always comes back to money. You're pissed off that this guy got his fame and money, and you're all, left in the cold. The money aspect was the debunking factor of the Patterson Bigfoot film, folks. If you heard about this, and that they have footage of them rehearsing the Bigfoot walking across the sand.
Well, that's the next one that we're going to get into. But just,
I didn't even know that was on the list. But so Travis, I feel bad that he's got to carry this burden. But when two people from your own crew come forward, and one of the people that you were in collusion with was a known hoaxer that pulled other hoaxes in the community, and you failed this high-tech lie detector, the Mac Daddy question of them all, were you abducted by aliens? And he fails it. It's just, it's just these people are, these, and it does. It makes me feel like, am I the only one that's not been debunked? I'm not saying that like, I come across sometimes like that on X because that's my agent provocateur coming out, but I don't want these people to be debunked. I want things, we have to use this as a milestone in our community. Look, kind of maybe do what Jon Stewart did. I don't know anything. I'm an idiot. I'm fumbling in the dark. I'm Mr. Magoo. Help me. Somebody reach out to me. I don't know if this is true or not. I'm going to show you all of my work. I'm going to show you my emails. Work with me. Help me. I think that is the way people need to come forward to our community, regardless of how I was treated. I think that is still should be the skeleton framework of how you should come forward to this community. And if the Bigfoot film and Travis Walton and other people, a lot of the Corbell videos that he put out and never did the caveat of, I'm not sure about this or whatnot. I think we need to, as much as I'm at war with the UFO community at times, we do deserve specificity, okay? And we do deserve caveats. I'm not sure of this. I'm going to show you this. I think that's not asking a lot.
Just before we go into the Bigfoot, you mentioned about, hey, look,
I can't wait for that, by the way, but go ahead.
Yeah. You mentioned about, obviously when you're getting this information from people and you're muddying through the waters, you're just throwing it out there. Do you feel though, and please don't take this to offense because I'm not trying to preach, because I'm a sucker for myself. I try to do as best I can with the resources I've got. And I'm not suggesting in one iota that you just run with something. But do you feel like because of the position you're in and the platform that you've got, you owe it to the UFO community to do a little bit of research, a little bit of fact finding before you push it out to the general public? Because what happens is, we all make mistakes, but when, I have to, there was a while ago, there was a CGI video of this humongous UFO that was it was old school video footage,
right?
And you tweeted it out. Now I know that there's that urge to be the first one to get there, to get the momentum, but it was quite clear because of the two footage that there were two UFOs, like two different. It was CGI. Now, do you think, looking back on that, you've learned something from it that you could have done a little bit more research before pushing something out there like that?
Absolutely, and I have to be more cognizant. Now, there are things that I put out. I put out Crocodile Man in the Amazon. It got 6.6 million views, but people knew that I grew up in the 60s and 70s of TV, of late night creature features movies, and people I think should know parody. And I'm even saying that now, here's going to be I'm going to start doing it on Saturday nights if I ever put out a obvious CGI but interesting footage. Yeah, it is incumbent upon me, and I have said that publicly after the UFO and the CGI, to just do a little bit more homework on it, a little. But I'm 59 years old. I'm not Mr. Technical, but I do have people now that I can send this to. What do you think, and
Okay.
whatnot, and yeah, and I think also too is I think it is important for me to put out everything with the caveat so people can say, oh, remember that was CGI, we caught that, or his foot was turned the other way. And I think it helps people identify what is CGI and what maybe isn't, because we are going to be in a real in the weeds pretty soon now. How CGI is so good
Was the AI,
that we're not
isn't
going to
it?
know anything with the AI. We're not going to know what we're looking at anymore. So, but I think if you put it out with the caveats, hey, what do you think of this? I would appreciate that, and I have started to do that, and I take full accountability of that. I even look back on my text though, and it did say, what I did say, like, what do you think of this, or this was sent to me, but yeah, it is important for me to filter some things. And as far as like the emails, I can just spin through this. The alien interview, the men allegedly watching the alien interview, the military men. I took that to Linda Moulton Howell, who we ran them. They all had Wikipedia bios. They were all in intelligence. Their ranks in 91 were given, not in 2023 when I got the list. They all verified. I think I vetted that enough. The Lockheed firefight, my emails were stolen 3 days after I got that email. I vetted the man. He did work for Bechtel. He was a Marine. He did work for Lockheed. I mean, and I did put it out like, and I went on redacted. I said, I've got a crazy story, but my emails just got swiped. I'm scared shitless, and I'm coming forward to protect myself. The 2027, when a scientist sends you his bio picture, tells you the scientific research company that he worked for, doesn't get specifics because he has NDAs, desperately wants me to put this out, sticks with the language, alien invasion. To me, I think I've done enough of my homework to say, what do you people think of this? So
Okay.
I do that. And believe me, I had an email from a U.S. Navy psychiatrist that if I ever put that on the internet, the government would crumble, and I haven't, and I
Right.
won't. Believe me, there is a plethora of emails that I've either deleted or are still in my inbox that are like, oh, Jon, don't do it, don't, and I haven't. Believe me, and Ben, you can vouch for me here. People like you and I, we get sent things that would curl wallpaper, as my father would say, and that I just don't put out. But God damn it, when I get the firefight story, my emails go missing. This guy works for this and works for that, and I see his LinkedIn profile, and come on. I mean, I've got to protect myself too. I don't care what the blowback is, So yeah, but you make a great point, and I totally agree with you. Yes, it is incumbent upon me to do some more research, and if I'm going to spit something out, make sure you tell people this is a parody, this is just me having fun, or what do you think? I think that's important.
Absolutely.
Because people know I'm not crazy, but I'm nuts.
Yeah.
Or I'm not nuts, but I am crazy, and
Or one
and
of the
I get
two.
excited. Yeah, one of the two, and I get excited. So yeah, I think when you put it out and say, folks, just got this. What do you think? It looks interesting. I think it's important to have those pre-qualifiers, and people deserve that. Yes, you're right.
I think going back to the Travis Walton, for me, the biggest upset of finding, because that's new knowledge to me right now. I didn't know about this, right? So for me, it's more upsetting, not so much about the story in itself, the lie. What I think is more damaging is where we, over the years, are slowly but surely getting rid of the stigma about aliens and UFOs and,
Absolutely.
life. We're getting there, right? And
yes, we are.
I suppose with the people that have not believed, will not believe, and trying desperately to, stop this in their world junk of aliens. We're the only people here, it's almost like reinforcing that. It's taking a step back in that discovery and that journey of aliens are real, UFOs are real, because all it does is all the debunkers out there go, see, That's another one that's come out, right? Aliens aren't real. This is all a load of rubbish. Stop it. And it just, now we're going to have to push even further forward to say, hey, look, this is the real...
You're taking steps backwards.
Like, what other story now? What other book released? What other film released is going to come out near the end when someone's on their deathbed? That's the unfortunate thing for me. That has a massive effect on the UFO community.
Yes. Yeah, that's what bothered me about Lou. I think Lou is hyper intelligent. I thank Lou publicly for his service. I really do. But you're putting out a picture of a chandelier. You're putting out a picture of a agricultural apparatus. If Jon Stewart's going to make sure to vet his pictures, I would think somebody like Lou should really make sure. And that's my only gripe with Lou, is that he should have been more careful with what he was putting forward, and it did water down our community and took us steps backwards. And all I can say is what I've put out, other than a few things, have been proven by other people, or at least talked about in a valid way with other people. And I just and it does take our community backwards. And there'll probably be some more people that get debunked and whatnot, but we just have to keep moving forward, put our heads down, and keep marching forward, and wait for that day when the government steps forward and says, here's what we got. And that day is probably going to come very soon.
But then, even then, people are going to be like, well, we can't trust the government. I don't believe them. It's all AI or CGI or drones.
Right.
So, the one you're excited about, the 1967 Bigfoot footage, right? The Bigfoot looking over at the camera in the forest. Now, when you sent me this, I was like, well, I thought this was this was a hoax. This was a French guy, or dressing up, or some French actor, or the costume of some sort. I thought this was debunked years ago. But then there's this new documentary that proves it was a hoax. I thought this already came out. Tell me about it.
Yeah, well, there's been news stories and TV shows about debunking it, and the man in the suit, a man by the name of Bob Hieronymus, who was hired by Roger, who knew Roger, who was from the town of Yakima, Washington, and there's been shows. The man that analyzed my alien interview footage, a guy by the name of Bill Mums, he was hired by National Geographic to analyze this Patterson Bigfoot film. And, he claims that through a lot of biometrics and a lot of video analysis, that this creature is real. And then somebody came out with a hyper magnified 4K photo of, they call it Patty. That's the nickname for the Bigfoot. And I looked at it and I studied it. I remember it was in the Las Vegas airport on a layover. And I went, first of all, Bob Hieronymus said, I was going to get paid $1,000. I never got paid. It's always about the money. If you want to have a hoax never be debunked, pay the people that are part of the hoax. It's always about the money. Even the guy that came forward from S4 that claimed he was a security guard, Derek Hennessy, he comes forward because his debit card stopped working. I mean, it's always the money.
Okay.
And so Bob is saying, look, we drove out to the site on our horses. We had coffee. I put the suit on. It smelled. Some of it was horsehide. Roger Patterson was an expert leather maker and fabricator.
Oh, so it's no French guy then? I thought
no French guy.
For some reason, I thought it was some French costume designer. Guy. Right? Okay.
He said it. Yeah, he said it was. Well, let me get to this. So I look at it and I see the thigh. It's got a vertical indentation in the thigh. There is no. I screamed at people on the internet. We're mammals. Mammals don't have any vertical muscles in their legs. There is a vertical indentation right below the hip bone. I saw this. I've been seeing this since the 70s. Number two,
I'm looking at it now.
The fur right below the elbow sticks out way farther than the bicep. Okay. Number three, there is a piece of leather swatch right by the elbow, the skin, and you could see it's leather. It's got holes punched into it, and I'll get to that. You can the shoulder is a V, and then underneath it is another concaved line, thick line on the shoulder. Mammals don't have shoulders like that. We have shoulders that come in a deep V down into the bicep. A bipedal mammal, that's the structure of the muscle. The abdomen is stiff, and I'm going to get to this. It does not move, and it's lighter. It's lighter color than the rest of the bodysuit. The breasts, it's a female. There is not one mammal in recorded history that has hair on the mammary glands, the breast. This one does. There is no buttocks. There's no ass crack, if I can be Bane, or if I can be vulgar. There's no buttocks crack in it. And at one point, I see like a little bulge swing out and swing in underneath the buttocks. And the buttocks looks ridiculous, like he's got a bubble butt. This is me in the 80s watching this. And I'm like, Now we hear Bob Hieronymus. It was a two-piece outfit that I put on at the campsite. The fur was glued to fishing waders. Now, my father wore fishing waders his whole life at our summer home to go fishing. And when it was cold, to take the dock out, my dad put on waders. And I'm like, that's what I saw. Right. That line below the hip on the top of the thigh. I'm remembering my childhood, my father wearing fishing waders, and they would bend and contour. And if you look, you'll see a vertical line. We don't have vertical muscles on bipedal mammals. I'm sorry. So, and Bob Hieronymus bears out what I saw 20, 30 years ago. Roger glued the fur to fishing waders. The feet were separate. The fishing waders had suspenders, and the top of the suit went down like a t-shirt, but it was cut off right at the forearms, and I had forearm inserts. Like when you would buy our kids or our nephews the Hulk gloves, and you put on the Hulk glove. So that's why the fur sticks out from the bicep, because those were prosthetic, like Bob Hieronymus said, they were prosthetic forearms and arms. And Bob said he put sticks in the hands to make them stretch longer and walk. And he said this is and I've got the close-ups. He said, not only did the uniform or did the costume smell because it was made with horsehide, that Bob went to his old high school football coach at Yakima High and got an early 50s leather without a face mask football helmet with the ridge, which is why you see Patty with the ridge, because a 40s, 50s leather football helmet had a leather ridge. You could see the ear pieces, the leather ear pieces come down on Patty. You can see where the fur is just glued right there on the football helmet. And that's how Bob Hieronymus was able to snap his neck back and forth, because that was not attached to anything. Then Bob also said that he put on, Roger Patterson called a man, bought the original gorilla suit from a costume maker in North Carolina named Philip Morris. Philip Morris said, I got a call from a guy named Roger Patterson in Washington. He bought my gorilla costume. He called me back and said, how do I make it more like a caveman, Neanderthal, rather than a gorilla? And Philip Morris tells the story. He told him to do this with the fur and put shoulder pads underneath the fur. And I have the outline of a Huff, Huff, football shoulder pad from the 40s and 50s that is almost perfect to the alignment of the shoulder on this Bigfoot. Another one, you see a like a whitish blob, like glue in the nostril. And Bob Hieronymus said, yeah, that's from the glue from applying all of the fur on the face mask. And that's the glue dripping through. You can see it on this photo that I have. Oh my God. Wait a minute, it doesn't end. Now Bob Hieronymus had a glass eye. You can see a white glint coming off that glass eye. This isn't just proving all of this claim. It's just adding exactly to what Bob Hieronymus said. Again, Roger had it in his trunk. There is a dead mouse hanging from this suit. It's unbelievable, and it's got its stomach to us. It's the tail. It's not something that was on the film. It was a dead because he had it in his trunk, and it smelled like horsehide. And he lived in the country. And the last one about the thing swinging on the buttocks in this bubble butt. What does Bob Hieronymus tell us? The suit, was all saggy. So Roger put a pillow. He tucked a pillow behind my butt with the suit. And it was funny because if you look, you can see my wallet swinging back and forth on my pair of jeans, popping through that's exactly what I saw. So now, and you want to talk about the UFO community tearing each other's throats out. The Bigfoot community is 10 times worse.
Oh, yeah.
So people are going back and forth. The footprints had what's called a compliant gait, which is I don't know where Roger got that. I don't know if that you could make that in the sand and then you see the soles of the Bigfoot are pure white. This Bigfoot has obviously been in the woods for 2 to 3, 4 or 5 years. It would be all muddy and dirty. They are pure white. And Bob Hieronymus said the bottom of the feet were house slippers.
Right.
That's how he slipped on the foot. And the last thing that happened is this footage emerges where we are going to see another man in the Bigfoot costume rehearsing the walk of the Bigfoot, clearly showing it was a costume, it was rehearsed. There's another person that said it seems like the original footage where Patty was just standing there and somebody went action and then started to walk. So that was suspect. There are many people that say from the analysis, she's only 6'1", 6'2" at the most. The walk is identical to Bob Hieronymus. He said he had a screwed up knee from sports, and you could see that knee. Even my analysis guy, Bill Mum, said there's a knee knock. The knee is weird. And Bob Hieronymus tells you before this guy ever said about the knee, he goes, yeah, I walked weird because I had a bum knee. So we're going to see the footage of them rehearsing this in the exact identical Bigfoot costume. It was a hoax. Roger Patterson was a con man, a rodeo clown, a rodeo person. He owed people money constantly. He was a mover and shaker, borrowing money, not paying debts. He didn't return the camera. They had a warrant for his arrest for not returning the video camera. He had his brother-in-law who was a successful businessman as an investor. He needed some information, some film to sell this, and lo and behold, the place that he goes in the middle of 100,000 square feet of forest is the place he sees an actual Bigfoot. And that's the story. I believe Bigfoot is real. I believe the phenomenon for many reasons, namely his footprints cast that show the dermal ridges. I don't think a good old Southern boy is going to know how to do fingerprint. Dermal ridges are the lines in your fingers, in your toes. I don't think somebody has the intelligence or the ability to cast prints that show fingerprints, basically dermal ridges. There's another handprint on a car window that a Bigfoot allegedly peeked in. The number one fingerprint person from the Detroit Police Department, he's the number one fingerprint person in the world, said it isn't human and it isn't primate. It's something in between. So I have those two things to know. I think the phenomenon is real. I think it's been with this. Native American Indians have been talking about this 800 years ago before there was any kind of TV shows and National Enquirer. But the Patterson Gimlin film is fake. It's a hoax. And you could see every indication of that hoax from that high resolution photograph. And it's disheartening to me because I always thought it was real as a kid until I really started looking at it in the 80s.
I'm glad you mentioned about you believe in the Bigfoot because I've done a couple of videos on Bigfoot before and it pains me to say, it really does, I'm edging towards maybe believing in it. I used to be dead in the ground about not believing in Bigfoot. But
right.
And I'm gonna hold something back because I do want to make a Bigfoot video because there was something that I found out a while ago that made me go, okay, well, if this is the case, then surely maybe there's a plausible thing about Bigfoot, right? However, my argument about Bigfoot is America, because obviously, a lot of the Bigfoots have been seen in America, okay? America is such a huge hunting background. So many people hunt, okay? And not just hunt, animals, but also Bigfoot. These are professional hunters, elite, top tier, with, technology, the right weapons and education, everything like that. And there is so many alleged Bigfoot sightings. Why on God's earth hasn't there been one captured now or shot?
I completely agree with that. All I can say is this. I have been hunting with my dad since I was 10 years old. I have never seen a skeleton of a bear in the woods. I have never seen a bear in the woods, and there's bears all over. So does that mean there's no bears? I don't know. And if they're more scarce than something like the brown black bear in America, that's the possible reason. I can tell you another thing. Forget about I saw black fur move between the trees. When you have hunters that say, I could not pull the trigger, why? It had a face of a human being. It didn't have fangs. It had teeth like a human. It had a nose. It was a human being with fur all over it. I could not pull the trigger. That makes me think, wow. But I agree. Why have we?
That's a good point.
Why have we? And I think that it will. First of all, I think it's funny that the phenomenon in modern day started in the 50s. What happened in the 50s in the West Coast? Urban sprawl after World War II, where we started building suburbs and where cars and roads were being built deeper and better into the woods. And as Americans pushed into the hinterland, we had time off on the weekends. We had more money because the economy was great. We had better cars to go. As urban sprawl happened, all of a sudden, the uptick in Bigfoot sightings occurred. And I think you cannot remove the coincidence of that. And I just think it's too many sightings at 4 a.m. You don't have people saying it was 6 foot tall. It was 9 and 10 foot tall, like ridiculous dimensions of height and weight. Again, the dermal ridges on that one footprint cast. The other one that it had a bum. It had almost a handicapped foot. And when a bipedal mammal would have a problem with their foot, the bone would protrude in the middle of the foot, just like the cast. How would somebody know that? There's a million other little, like I said, the Detroit fingerprint expert that said it's not human and it's not simian. It's something in between. That makes me pause. And again, Native American Indians on the West Coast, British Columbia, state of Washington, the Flathead Indians, Nez Perce Indians, 800, 900 years ago, all talked about this mythical, hairy, huge beast with cries. And, you didn't have to warn your children back 900 years ago about some mythical creature. There was plenty in the wilderness to worry about wolves and bears and geological events and flash floods and water. When you start weaving the creature into baskets and drawing them on cave walls and I will conclude with this. There are some totem poles where the top figure is this mythical forest beast, and it's doing the monkey, it's like this with its mouth. Now, how did, we only discovered the monkey in America in the early 1800s. How did Native American Indians 800 years ago know what the facial movement would be of a monkey going, ooh, I can't reconcile that.
That's something I think I need to.
I just can't reconcile it.
Yeah, that's something I think I need to look into because I think previously all I've been doing is looking at alleged footage, right? and my own thoughts instead of maybe looking back at the history of first sightings and things like that. It's really interesting. Really interesting. I think we can't, have this podcast without talking about where, you originated from, the alien interview tape. You've got here Victor investigation alien interview tape that you maybe updates or something like that. What was it?
Yeah, talk about? I came out with the documentary, said it was Stan Deo, who looks exactly like Victor. He says he looks exactly like Victor. He's obsessed with the end of the world on his website. He was in reverse propulsion in Australia from Edward Teller, the same guy that got Bob Lazar in. He's got the hair, the pedigree, the displeasure with the UFO community, but it's not Stan Deo. We were given a name, Stanton John Willett, by the director. He is nowhere to be found. There's never a name, that exact name, that was ever born in the United States. We were then told that was his cover name. And we found his name on an Area 51 Groom Lake EG&G entry log to get into Area 51. We found Stanton John Willett, but we were told that if you had an official cover name, that could be used as entry, because you can only get on with your cover name or your actual real name. Guy by the name of Brian Pemble, he's on X. He's a UFO researcher. He's coming to a financial agreement with the CEO, the man that holds the Victor film. And this is where I stop and I'm asking your viewers. I don't know anymore. I don't know what's going on. There is this blowback, this hesitation to take us to Victor's house. He said Victor is alive. He has communicated with the real Victor. The real Victor said it's time to come end this story. There is this hesitation. Victor is very reluctant. He's reading over my notes for the proposed new documentary. The director is mums. I don't understand. I'm asking your viewers. Let's leave it in the comments section. I don't know what's going on here. 50-year NDAs that have to be, the owner, Tom Coleman, has to wipe out the NDAs. A hoaxy video production company that was doing a Rodney Dangerfield golf comedic video back then is having people sign 50-year NDAs. Victor is hesitant of coming forward. I thought it's a hoax.
Yeah.
Why are you hesitant coming forward? I don't know. Folks, I don't know if it's real or not. God, I hope you appreciate me saying that after spending $35,000. Just mark my words, Ben will come back to this one day. Something is not right with that film. Now, I started to communicate with Bill Moore, who no one in ufology has ever had communicated with since he came out in '89 that said, I was a CIA mole, a plant, an asset to cause disinformation. And I was part of my charm. I got him to communicate with me via email. He does not want to talk about it. He said he had a small part to play in it. They used his necktie. They used his interview notes. They interviewed him, his verbiage. And he said it was a carefully crafted hoax. Folks, I'm telling you what Bill Moore wrote me. But if I told you the truth of the entire story, you and I will be swinging from the end of a rope. Now, this is an 80-year-old, CIA mole that wrote that to me. If I tell you the truth of the alien interview, which is a carefully crafted hoax, you and I will swing from the end of a rope. That's all I'm going to leave it with. We are going to hopefully be taken to Victor's house. Please, we're going to come back to this. I don't know the truth. Aren't you happy, folks? You don't have to yell at me. $35,000 later, I don't know the truth. I know the men are real that were claimed to be in that room. The one person, Nico, said he saw the full 56-minute videotape of that alien interview. That could have been a hoax too. But something is not right with this film, and I'm confident that that is something that we will all say, holy shit, whether it's a hoax or real. When we meet Victor, I will not have to eat my words. Something is not right with this film. The whole process of it and the whole provenance of this film. Ben, I'll make it as simple as possible. Something's not right, brother. Something is not right, and I don't know what it is.
How do you feel about all of this? Because that's a huge spanner in the works, right?
I feel that it was a carefully crafted psyop now. That's exactly what I'm feeling. I think that
John, that's like sorry
well,
to interrupt,
wait
but
a minute.
that's
I'm sorry.
No, that's
Wait a minute. I'm sorry. I'm not the bunk. I think the creature is real. I think also that it was that Bill Moore is lying to me. I've been told that he's lying to me to save his neck. I believe that the being is real. There is a movement of this that you can't do with animatronic motion servos in 97. The being jumps forward. It does this immediately. The back then it would be this. It would be and it does make that, but it does this. It does this. That's not. They didn't have those servos in '96. And I've had special effects people tell me off to the side. There's movements I can't explain, but I think it was crafted by the government. That Victor, I think I'm going to find out that Victor was part, like I've been told, that I didn't tell anybody, that Victor was part of an ancillary portion of MJ12, that he was told to release that. They knew he was disgruntled. I believe the alien is real simply by the mechanism. And I wrote a huge essay that an FX person wrote me about the impossibility of the quick, jerky motions of this being in the eye, the ocular skin above the eye moving so slightly that no one would spend that kind of money to do that. I believe that we are looking at a real extraterrestrial, but it was a carefully crafted psyop by the government. And that's why when we offered Victor the money, he didn't say, let's tomorrow, come on over tomorrow. It's reluctancy. It's Bill Moore telling me I'm going to swing from the end of a rope. You can't, this is a Rick Doty telling me nothing. Now, everybody thinks Rick Doty's been feeding me information. Do you know what Rick Doty's told me about the alien interview? Nothing other than the building that they did retain beings in was called S2 Alpha, and the extraterrestrial retention and interrogation program was real. And Rick said that alien is real. That's all I'm going to say. That's all I know. Why a company that had made a Rodney Dangerfield golf video is all of a sudden doing the can't tell you. Wait a second. You're going to swing from the end of the rope. I mean, again, something is not right. That's all I'm going to say. Something is not right, and I am not going to eat my words on this, folks. Something is not right. Why is Victor so freaking reluctant? You're reluctant to come forward because you made a hoax puppet alien. What? We're giving him a large chunk of money that he could give to his wife or his grandchildren or his children.
Maybe he's reluctant to come forward because of the sheer amount of hate that he might get towards him for coming out. Maybe.
But you came forward twice already. You know, there's not even I'll come forward, but I still want to be in disguise a little bit. Or it's nothing. It's reluctance. It's this. It's hold on. It's the waiting game for a hoax. Come on. For a hoax, but that doesn't mean it's not a psyop. So, like Bill Moore said, carefully crafted psyop by the government.
What's your plans now with that in mind? Because you've now you went from this is fake to this potentially is real to now this is a psyop. So are you going to carry on trying to investigate this even further? Or do you feel like you're in a dead end now and you just, the water's just so muddy? Like,
no,
you know?
we're gonna get Victor. At the very least, we're gonna get the name of Victor, the real name that I can research, get his birth certificate, bring that out to the world in a professional looking talking head documentary like Age of Disclosure. It's called Diffuse Lighting, a more higher tech camera, so it looks more professional because people really chop me up with my podcast type documentary that was only $7 that I told all this information on. And just tell the world Here's what happened. Here's this crazy story that involves Hollywood. Folks have to remember this. This story, this 7-year journey, is one of the craziest Hollywood stories ever. It's one of the craziest government stories ever. And it's one of the craziest ufology stories ever. This is not just about the alien interview. You're going to hear stuff about Hollywood and the craziness of Hollywood, the government, the New York Times. I mean, it needs to be told and succinctly and visually more professional. And I'm getting Victor's name. I'm going to get his birth name, and we're going to bring it to the world.
Okay, then. So let's talk finally on Trump's announcement, these, releasing the UFO files and everything we know so far. What's your thoughts?
I think, I told people, I said, you're going to get disclosure when the Epstein files, and it's Fonex, it's time-stamped. It was 5 weeks before Trump announced. On 5 weeks before Trump announced, I said, folks, you're going to get disclosure when the Epstein files become too hot to handle. And to the day Trump comes forward with disclosure, I think there's panic in the halls of Washington, D.C. and in Virginia. Do I think you're going to get, and I said this on Fox TV, they interviewed me. Do I think you're going to get a 1975 16 millimeter film of a craft coming down and the occupants coming down on a ramp from the government? No. Here's what I think is going to happen. You're going to see some of the old TikTok film. You might get a black and white of a bean on an autopsy table. What is going to happen with the President of the United States saying, I want disclosure. I'm calling for the legal disclosure of UFO extraterrestrial material. I think that is going to be a trip flare to people in intelligence that have some of this material, have these VHS tapes, have these films in their closet, in their desk, in their storage vault. I think you're going to see a release of film by retired intelligence people or private contractors that were in these programs who can now say, how can you arrest me? The President of the United States just stepped forward and said, release the information. So I'm saying, just Jon Stewart saying here, I don't think you're going to get really big hyperbolic information from the government, but you're going to get some film that is going to shock the world from somebody from Intel or somebody from a private contractor. Yes.
So why don't you think we've had this huge influx already now then? Because we haven't really. Nothing's really happened about this.
No, nothing's really happened because, number one, most of this material is with private contractors. You can't FOIA them. I believe with every fiber of my soul that there is one filing cabinet. I believe the Phil Corso premise that this hard material that stopped probably in the 60s is in one file cabinet. I think everything's been digitized. It's probably with one specialized desk, literally one specialized desk, one laptop, somebody from the DOE, somebody from DIA. If you think multiple agencies have all of these pictures and films, you're fooling yourself. This is the most highly compartmentalized a secret that the government has kept ever. And I believe that they were smart enough to compartmentalize all of the audio-visual material into one space, one hard drive, one cabinet. I firmly believe that, and everything else is with private contractors. And if the President of the United States can't go to Dugway Proving Grounds or Area 51 and knock on a building to say, let me in, I don't think we're going to get the kind of disclosure that is going to be given to us by Intel people that are going to say, I got this in my closet, I'm going to release it. My president said I can. I just unless Congress comes down on Trump, where it's going to be impeachment, he's going to be thrown out of office because of the Epstein. If some hyperbolic video comes forward that is just will cause people to faint about Trump, and I'm not saying that there is one, that with Trump doing something illegal in regard to the Epstein case, I'm not saying he did. I said if the fire to his feet gets that close, you're going to see you'll see maybe a jaw-dropping film, but Trump has no ability to get that. You think Rubio is going to, everyone is going to obfuscate that might have this thumb drive or might have this laptop. Rubio's not going to find out who's got this. So we're going to see an alien on an autopsy table. We might see a metallic craft hovering over a field. Occupants coming down, occupants shaking hands, interacting with Air Force colonels. No way. I don't believe it.
No.
I'm sorry to say.
No.
But you're going to see it from somebody. You're going to see it from like an intel person.
Yeah.
That I can tell you.
Yeah, but by that time, people are going to be like, "That's AI."
Like AI, or he's a spook. It's another psyop. Jon Stewart told us psyops are all over, and it's going to be disappointing. I hate to say it.
Now, I hope it's not. I definitely agree that when there's a huge, I mean, it's one of the oldest trick in the books. It's like, right back to the gladiators and like the kings that ruled, like, Roman Empire and stuff like that. When this war is happening or this is happening, entertain them with, well, WWE wrestlers, right?
That's right.
But like, so I fully agree that when shit gets hot, they have to make, something else glitter over here for people to change their attention. Right. However, on this note, there's a part of me that goes, yeah, obviously, these Epstein files is a huge thing, and a lot of people don't want this let out. However, the storyline of how Trump says, look, I'm going to start releasing everything, is a little bit sort of, in order for Trump to say, I'm going to release this, the storyline is, first of all, someone would have had to have asked the podcaster to ask the question to Barack Obama, are aliens real? And then Barack Obama would have had to have said, or being informed, you say this, I believe in aliens, but not in Area 51. And then that would have had to have gone to Trump. Trump would have had to have then said, he shouldn't be saying that, and then the tweet the next day. It's very like, surely if they wanted to,
it does seem scripted. Yeah, it does seem choreographed.
It's too scripted, I think.
But every president,
that's like someone coming to me and saying, "Look, you're about to. I've heard through the grapevine you're about to ask, interview Jon Stewart. Can you ask him this, please? And then for you to say this, and then for it seems a little too scripted, right?
I agree. Yeah, but every president is asked about aliens at times, and I think Trump's a narcissist. I think Barack Obama's getting attention on aliens. I'll one up him. I'm gonna release all the information on aliens, and his probably his handlers or his advisors, Trump's advisors, probably said, do that. It's going to take a lot of heat off of the Epstein case. It's going to help our midterms because everybody is talking about this in the media and in chat rooms and on the internet. That your core MAGA people all believe in aliens. This is going to be good. Yes, go forward. I think Barack Obama triggered Trump to get more attention than Obama. And that's what I believed happened. And
but then wouldn't it be? But surely, in order to do that, you have to release something. Nothing's been fucking released.
No, nothing's been released. Well, here's the thing that I contend with, which I tell people that I believe that my insiders are telling me. Look, there are 59, 60, 65-year-old Jon Stewart generals and colonels that could go to jail for what they did of keeping this secret, whether that's obfuscation, whether it's malfeasance and manipulation, keeping black money spent away from responsible members of the budget and from Congress, and potentially the elimination, I will use this word, of scientists and whistleblowers that were going to reveal the secret. And there are people with a lot of power that are probably scrambling right now to keep this information at bay so they don't go to jail. And I made the statement 4 or 5 years ago. If you want full disclosure, the president does a nighttime address. He says, we're just like what happened in South Africa on apartheid and Nelson Mandela. Everyone is exonerated. Everyone, no matter what they did, is exempt and exonerated from prosecution. Then you see the colonel coming forward with the thumb drive in the laptop, and the doors open up at Dugway Proving Grounds. You're not going to see it if Jon Stewart, Colonel Jon Stewart, who's been in the deep programs for 35 years, that can sidestep every landmine known to man. You're not going to get past me. You're not going to get this information. I'm going to do whatever I can to keep this, to keep the craft landing with the occupants coming out, that film from being shown to the world. And then you're not going to see the document with my signature where we eliminated a scientist. You're not going to see it. So that's what should have been happened. That's what should have happened. And that's my rub with Donald Trump. It's my rub with his war on Iran. I'm not being political. He should have went over there diplomatically, warned them, had the big, photo op, went back. The island off of the Strait of Hormuz should have been the first thing that was occupied and captured, not the last. He just goes about things. She's trigger happy. He just goes, he shoot. We call it in the car business in Chicago, shooting from the hip. He just shoots from the hip, and no one's told him to say these gatekeepers are not going to let this information out. This is not something you can just go readily knock on a door and go grab the file. The only way it's going to happen if you exonerate them, exempt them from prosecution. Then they keep their country club membership. They keep their $100,000 pension. They can keep putting their kids to school, pay for their daughters' weddings, and everything's hunky-dory down at the ranch. But Trump didn't say that. And when he says that, that's when you're going to see the floodgates. That's the only way you're going to see full disclosure. If he goes on TV and says, everyone, private contractor, CEO, colonel, major, general, lieutenant, captain, everyone is exempt from prosecution no matter what they did, up and including murder. That's it.
Well, John, you've come in with some information. I mean, I'd be really intrigued to find out what the community says about this. It's maybe I'll see you in a few weeks after that prediction, eh?
Let's hope.
Yeah, but John, hey, thank you so much for coming on, man. I think we've been chatting for quite some time. Is there anything else that you want? Any plugs? Anything you want people to follow you? Any information?
No,
your email. I can put your email.
Oh yeah. I wrote a book, but I'm proud that I don't plug my book on podcasts, and people hate that. Oh, he's not a grifter. We want him to be a grifter. I'm not going to. So yeah, I would love to give my email again. Let's finish this Victor thing, folks.
Yeah.
My private email is Jon, Jon, without the H, Allen, Alan, Stewart, Stewart. And I'm an old guy, so I still have AOL.com. I answer it. People on the chat log, they're like, I don't believe this guy. He answers his emails at 4 a.m. I'm very good about responding. If you can have any help towards the Victor investigation, please contact me. I want to end this. I want to move on with my life. I'm begging you. And remember, to all of your viewers, these are all my opinions based on my mutual history with these people and with this evidence, and do with it as you will. I am simply the journalist reporter giving you and telling you my journey. And the journey is almost over, thank God. And thank you for having me on. Thank you for your listeners and viewers for allowing me to come into their homes and their lives for a couple of hours and listen to a crazy guy talk. And I wish everyone, as we go into spring and summer, and dealing with this Iran war, that we're all safe and sound, and the world gets back to normal. And thank you for having me on.
Perfect, John. Thank you so much, mate.